sending employees to occupational health something we really should be doing when there's an absence or performance issue, particularly when it comes to a neurodivergent employee. In this video, I'm going to explore where occupational health is the right thing to be doing, when it's not the right thing to be doing, when there are better options available, and how we can really use these tools to support our neurodivergent employees to perform at the best that they can do. So, hello, my name is Jenefer, I'm founder of Silk Helix, and we're a HR consultancy. We specialise in neurodiversity, and that includes doing workplace needs assessments, which I'm going to be talking about in this video today. What is the purpose of occupational health and why do we use it? Well, seemingly forever, HR departments have relied upon occupational health. So when we've got somebody who is, particularly if there's a high absence from work where we know that's going to be a medical condition, or when there's performance and somebody raises that may well be because of a medical condition or because of a disability, for example, then the thing we would do is send them to occupational health. It's just a go-to. It's almost done without even thinking about it. And having really started to explore this in terms of neurodiversity and disability and what we really mean by disability, I think occupational health has got its place, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's always the best place to send somebody who's neurodivergent and where those issues and struggles are reasons of neurodivergent conditions. And also, I don't think we should be waiting till somebody ends up in some performance or absence situation. By then, it's too late. Things have gone really wrong by that point. So what are the options? What could we do? Why is occupational health not the right place? It seems to be the obvious. It's what we've explained for years. I would have advised it in the past that they are the experts of kind of somebody's medical condition and the work environment, how those interact with each other. That's where the expertise of occupational health comes. And there's many reasons where I'd still say occupational health, absolutely the right people to be getting advice on somebody's medical condition and the impact of that on work and what can be put in place to support that. And that is absolutely right when we're looking at physical health, without a doubt, and even general mental health. I think occupational health really does have its place in being able to support us, to support colleagues in those situations. Neurodivergent conditions, however, are not necessarily a health condition in the same way. And if we're sending somebody to occupational health, we're really looking at disability, because that's what we're looking at really, is under the Equality Act, would this person be defined as having a disability? And that's often the question we're looking to ask occupational health. And that means that we're looking at disability from a medical model, and the medical model being very much this individual has something wrong with them that needs to be diagnosed and fixed. And I think that's where, when it comes to neurodivergent employees, that's completely the wrong place to go. I mean, if you look at something like dyslexia, for example, it's not even diagnosed and assessed within the medical realm. It's an educational diagnosis. So it's specialist teachers, specialist educational psychologists that would be diagnosing dyslexia, not a nurse, a doctor, or somebody of that training. And I know that when it comes to ADHD and autism and a whole range of others, they are diagnosed by people with nursing or doctor, those kind of medical type backgrounds. But there's a lot of question marks over that as well, I think, in the sort of community that's looking at neurodivergent conditions and whether that's really the case, because that really does put this focus on this is what this person has wrong with them, and therefore what can we fix? So what should we be looking at when it comes to somebody with a neurodivergent condition and how we can support them? Firstly, the Equality Act says we should be putting reasonable adjustments in place as soon as we know, or reasonably ought to know, that somebody has a disability. That means trying to work out how to support the individual. The point is that we're trying to level the playing field, and we are trying to ensure that this person can achieve within the business. And it's not about giving them everything and letting them off of everything. It is about how do we make sure that this person is going to achieve what we need them to do, what we're paying them to do within the business. And we should be doing that right from the start. So workplace needs assessments are an alternative to occupational health assessments. They are done by people who are qualified in neurodiversity and neurodivergent conditions. They are done from that point of view of empathy, understanding, and somebody who's got a really good understanding of the tools, the resources, what can be put in place, what tools are out there, what can we do to support somebody. And that comes from someone who has got the expertise in the neurodivergent conditions. Lived experience is also really beneficial there. And on top of that, from our point of view, the employment law and legal understanding as well. So the understanding of what employers are required to do. From our point of view, a lot of the recommendations that would be put in place would be things like adjusting the way a manager communicates with somebody. So having the expertise in understanding how we can educate managers to communicate differently, how we can use tools in a different way, all of that needs to feed into a holistic workplace needs assessment, which looks at the individual as a whole, not based on a diagnosis. It's not ADHD, yeah, we'll grab that checklist of recommendations. It's this individual, because we know that individuals present differently with the same diagnosis. We know that mixtures of diagnoses is really common, so co-occurring conditions is the more formal term. We know that that has different impacts on people. Now, in reality, not everybody with a neurodivergent condition or a physical disability needs a workplace needs assessment or indeed an occupational health assessment. Many will understand themselves really well and they will know their condition, how their condition impacts them at work, and what adjustments can be put in place to help to resolve those challenges that they face and ensure that they can thrive in the workplace. If you've got somebody like that, accept it, embrace it, and take what it is they've got to say, because they know their condition better than anyone else. And whether they go to a workplace needs assessment, an occupational health assessment, you are likely to get back a report that says exactly the same thing as what that individual has already told you, and you've just spent a load of money on that report. Where these assessments are really useful is when you've got somebody who doesn't fully understand their own needs, and that could come from being newly diagnosed. We've seen, particularly in relation to neurodivergence, many people who have been trying to hide for many years their challenges, have not understood their challenges, are newly diagnosed, newly understanding, and for them, a workplace needs assessment could be really beneficial in exactly the same way as somebody who becomes newly physically disabled. An occupational health assessment can be really essential in helping them to understand the impact of their disability on how they will be at work, what they'll do at work, and of course the impact of the work environment on their disability. And that's where the social model of disability comes in, where we're actually looking at, this isn't an individual that needs fixing, this is an environment that needs to be changed in order that this individual can thrive. And that's often where we're looking at coming from. And that's why that workplace needs assessment that looks at things from the really holistic point of view, and that holistic point of view is looking at the individual, it's also looking at that particular work environment, the job role, talking to the manager. That's really important. Every assessment that you do, whether that's occupational health or a workplace needs assessment, absolutely, there should be a meeting with the manager and a meeting with the individual to discuss the manager's point of view of what's needed, and really to understand the job role and the environment, and then the individual to understand those and look at how those fit together and what adjustments therefore can be put in place. And somebody who understands the difference between an adjustment and a reasonable adjustment. So check out some of my videos where I go into this in more detail, but the reality is an adjustment is there regardless. This is what that individual needs. Whether or not that's reasonable is going to come down to the circumstances of the individual team, department, company. All of that's going to impact on reasonable. In reality, when we come to neurodivergent conditions, most of what we're looking at is relatively low cost to do. Some of it requires some effort from team members, awareness training and things to make sure that colleagues, managers have the awareness and understanding to be able to support the individual. So it's things like that. But generally, we're not talking hugely expensive adjustments that need to be put in place. And often these adjustments actually can benefit others as well as the individual that we're talking about. So really it's looking at which is the best type of assessment for the situation you're in. And occupational health, when it comes to physical health or very general mental health, occupational health absolutely essential and should be used, and again should be used either from the point at which somebody becomes disabled or an illness or something impacts them at work. Go straight to occupational health, go straight to your workplace needs assessment. Don't wait till you've got a performance or a management issue and a problem. We don't need to get to those problems. If we put these adjustments in place, we won't get to all those problems, which are time and money. There's huge costs involved in those. So whether it's occupational health or workplace needs assessment, they should be done at the point of recruitment or the point at which you notice, you identify that this needs to happen, either because something's newly acquired or newly understood to be present. And a workplace needs assessment where the assessor is a specialist in the conditions that you're looking at, specialist in neurodiversity. Lived experience, I think, is always beneficial in terms of having empathy and being able to build that rapport with the individual. And the background from the employment law point of view, particularly important if this is being done at the point you've got to a performance issue or an absence issue, and perhaps the disability is only being mentioned now, and I've got a video that explains why that might happen, so check that out. If it's just coming to light at that point, you really need somebody with that HR, that employment law background who can also marry in that piece and understanding the employment law piece as well as the work environment and the individual. If you want to find out more about how we can support you with workplace needs assessments, there's details in the description below. Speak to me about how I can support you, how workplace needs assessment might support your work environment. In the meantime, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the like button and notification bell. All those things, they all help us to promote the channel for other people to be able to see it. And we're really grateful to you watching, and come back next week for more.